The human man named Daniel lived a quiet life on the edge of the alien city. He was not rich, not powerful, just an ordinary worker who rented a small apartment, but what made his life unusual was his roommate, an alien girl named Lyra. She was small, delicate, with glowing eyes that shimmered like stars. Her skin was soft with faint patterns that changed color when she felt strong emotions. For months they had lived together, sharing meals, chores, and small conversations. At first, Daniel thought she was shy and strange, but slowly she opened her heart. She asked him about human food, human music, and even human dreams. He answered patiently, never laughing at her questions, and in return, she helped him survive in the alien city where humans were often mocked. But one night, everything changed. It was late. The city outside was silent. Daniel was fixing an old lamp when Lyra suddenly sat across from him. Her eyes glowed softly in the dim light, and her hands trembled slightly. Daniel, she whispered, I want to ask you something important. He looked at her and smiled. Of course, Lyra, what is it? She hesitated, her cheeks glowing a faint blue, the color of nervousness among her kind. Then she took a deep breath and spoke. Can you show me human breeding? Daniel froze, the lamp slipped from his hand and almost broke. He stared at her, certain he had heard wrong. What did you just say? He asked in shock. Her glowing eyes did not waver, though her voice shook. I want to know what it feels like, how humans connect, how they share life. I want you to show me. Silence filled the room. Daniel's heart raced, his hands felt cold. This was not a joke, not some silly question. She was serious, her eyes steady, her small frame shaking but determined. He laughed nervously, trying to break the tension. Lyra, that's not something you just ask your roommate. It's serious. Her voice rose slightly, filled with desperation. I know, but I chose you, Daniel, because you are kind, because you never hurt me, because you treat me like I matter. I don't trust anyone else. Daniel felt a storm inside him. He had never thought of her this way. Yes, she was beautiful in her alien way, but she was also innocent, fragile. And now she was asking him something that could change everything. He struggled to find words, but none came. Lyra lowered her head, afraid of his silence. Maybe I made a mistake. Maybe humans think I am disgusting, she whispered, her glowing eyes dimmed, like a star fading. Daniel quickly shook his head. No, Lyra, that's not it. You're not disgusting. You're amazing. She looked up at him again, hope flickering in her eyes. Then why do you look so afraid? She asked softly. Daniel sighed, his chest heavy with emotions he could not name. I'm afraid because what you're asking is powerful. It's not just a game. Lyra, it can change both of us forever. For a moment, neither spoke. The lamp flickered weakly on the table between them. Outside, the alien city hummed with distant sounds, but inside the room it felt like the whole universe had gone silent. Finally, Lyra reached out her hand, placing it gently on his. Her skin was warm, trembling, but her touch was real. I don't want to play with you, Daniel. I want to understand you. I want to belong. I want to be more than just your strange roommate. Her words cut through his fear like a blade. Daniel felt his heart beating faster than ever before. He realized this was not about curiosity alone, it was about trust, about a bond she wanted to create with him. And in that moment, Daniel knew one thing for sure: nothing in his life would ever be the same again. Daniel could not sleep that night. The question from Lyra echoed again and again in his head. Her voice, soft yet determined, had carried more weight than anything he had ever heard. Can you show me human breeding? She had said, and no matter how many times he replayed it, the meaning did not change. He turned in his bed, staring at the cracked ceiling of their small apartment. He had lived with her for months, laughed with her, shared meals with her, and trusted her, but he never thought she would ask for something so personal, so forbidden. Part of him wanted to run, to pretend she had never spoken, but another part of him burned with curiosity, with a strange pull he could not ignore. The next morning, Daniel found Lyra in the kitchen. She was quiet, her glowing eyes dimmer than usual. She avoided his gaze, pretending to busy herself with a bowl of strange alien fruit. When he entered, she froze, then whispered, "Good morning," without looking up. The silence between them was heavier than any words. Daniel sat down slowly, trying to calm the storm inside him. "Lyra," he said, his voice gentle, "why did you ask me that last night?" She stopped moving, Her hands trembling as she placed the fruit down, her cheeks glowed faint blue, the color of shame in her kind. I asked because I wanted to know, she said quietly, because no one ever tells us the truth about humans. He frowned. What do you mean? She finally looked up at him, her eyes shining with both fear and hope. In my world, they say humans are dangerous, selfish, unable to control their desires, she explained. They warn us that if we ever let a human touch us, we will lose ourselves, we will be ruined. Her voice shook, but she continued, but you are not like that, Daniel, you are different. Her words cut deep into his heart. He had always known humans were seen as outsiders in this alien Sci-Fi, but he never realized how much fear and lies surrounded their image. And you think breeding will prove them wrong? He asked carefully. Lyra's eyes softened. Not just prove them wrong, I want to feel it myself. I want to know what it means to connect with you, to trust you with everything. Daniel felt his throat tighten. Her honesty was raw, more powerful than any plea. She was not asking out of desire alone. She was asking out of loneliness, out of a deep need to belong. He saw it in her trembling hands, in the way her voice cracked as she tried to stay strong. This was not about an experiment, it was about her heart. Lyra, he said slowly, I don't want to hurt you, I don't want you to regret this later. She shook her head quickly, stepping closer, her patterns glowing faint gold, the color of truth. I won't regret it, Daniel, because it's you. If it was anyone else, I would run, but with you, I feel safe, and I want to give you this part of me. He swallowed hard, unable to look away from her glowing eyes. She was so small, so fragile, yet the courage it took for her to speak these words was enormous. She was putting everything on the line, her dignity, her trust, her future, and all of it rested in his hands. The air between them grew heavy, almost electric. Daniel's heart pounded, torn between fear and longing. If he said yes, there would be no going back. If he said no, he might break her heart forever. And as he looked into her shimmering eyes, he realized something he had not admitted to himself. He wanted her too, not just because of her beauty, not just because of her strange glowing patterns, but because she believed in him when no one else did. She saw him not as a worthless human in an alien world, but as someone worth choosing, and that made him feel alive in a way he had not felt in years. Still, he whispered only one thing, Lyra, give me time. Her eyes widened, but she nodded, a small smile breaking through her fear. I will wait, she said softly, because I know you will not turn away from me forever. And with those words, the bond between them grew stronger, but also more dangerous, because in their hearts, both of them now knew the truth. This was no longer just about curiosity, it was about something deeper, something that could change both of their worlds forever. The days after Lyra's strange proposal felt heavy for Daniel. He tried to live normally, waking early for work, fixing broken tools, sharing meals with her, but no matter what he did, her words never left his mind. Can you show me human breeding? The memory echoed in his head like a drumbeat that refused to stop. Every time he looked at Lyra, his chest grew tight. She moved around the apartment with her usual grace, her glowing eyes shifting colors as she hummed softly. But now, every small glance, every brush of her hand against his, carried new meaning. Daniel feared what might happen if he gave in. Would he hurt her? Would it break their fragile peace? Or would it awaken something neither of them could control? One evening, Daniel sat alone by the window, staring out at the alien city. Neon lights flickered on the tall towers, and strange ships buzzed across the sky. He thought about how small he was in this place, just one human surrounded by thousands of aliens who saw him as less. And yet, inside this little apartment, one alien girl had chosen him above all others. The thought scared him more than it comforted him. Behind him, he heard soft footsteps. Lyra walked closer, her patterns glowing faint silver, the color of worry. You've been so quiet, she whispered, her voice almost trembling. Are you angry with me, Daniel? He turned quickly, shaking his head. No, Lyra, I am not angry, I'm just confused. She tilted her head, her glowing eyes searching his face. Confused about me? She asked softly. Daniel sighed, running a hand through his hair. I don't understand why you asked me, why it has to be me. Don't you realize what you're asking could change everything? Her lips trembled before she spoke. Yes, I know, but that's why I chose you, because I wanted to change everything. Her words sent a chill down his spine. She was not afraid of change, she was asking for it. craving it, but he was human, and humans feared the unknown. He feared breaking her, he feared the judgment of her people, he feared that once they crossed that line, they would never return. Daniel leaned back, staring at the ceiling. Lyra, I don't even know if our bodies can. If it's even possible, he admitted. She stepped closer, her voice soft but firm. Then we will learn, together. Her confidence shook him more than her request. How could she be so sure when he was drowning in doubt? That night, as he lay in bed, he heard a faint sound. Lyra's door opened, and soft steps crossed the floor. He opened his eyes and saw her standing in the darkness, glowing faintly like a living star. Can I sit here? She whispered, her voice small. He nodded slowly, and she sat at the edge of his bed, her glowing eyes filled with uncertainty. I was afraid you would hate me for asking, she whispered. Daniel's heart tightened. I could never hate you, Lyra. Her shoulders relaxed, but then she whispered words that froze him again. Then why are you afraid of me? The silence that followed was sharp as a blade. Daniel swallowed hard, unable to answer, because deep inside, he knew the truth. He was not afraid of her. He was afraid of what he felt when she looked at him like that, afraid of the heat that stirred in his chest, afraid of the bond that grew stronger each day. Lyra leaned closer, her patterns glowing faint gold, the color of truth. I don't want to be your fear, Daniel, I want to be your choice, she said softly. Her words struck deep into him, and his heart raced. He realized this was no longer about curiosity, no longer a simple question. It was about trust, about stepping into the unknown with someone who believed in him. But still, he whispered, almost to himself, if we do this, nothing will ever be the same. Lyra touched his hand, her small fingers trembling yet steady. That is all I want, she said, her glowing eyes never leaving his. And in that moment, Daniel realized the truth. The greatest fear was not the unknown, the greatest fear was losing the one who made him feel alive. The air in the apartment felt heavier than ever. Daniel tried to avoid Lyra's eyes, but her presence followed him everywhere. Every time she moved, her glowing patterns shifted with emotion, and each time her hand brushed against his by accident, his chest tightened. The bond between them was no longer silent, it was growing louder. Impossible to ignore. One quiet evening, Daniel sat at the table repairing an old human watch he had kept since Earth. The tick of the small gears gave him comfort, reminding him of home, but suddenly, he felt a soft shadow over his shoulder. Lyra stood there, glowing faintly in the dim light, her eyes fixed on him. Without a word, she reached out and touched his hand. Daniel froze, his heart racing. Her skin was warm, softer than he imagined, trembling slightly as though she was afraid. Her glowing patterns shifted from blue to gold, colors of nervousness and honesty. He looked up at her in shock, but she did not pull away. Instead, she whispered, why do you always run from me? Her question struck him deeply. I'm not running, he muttered, though his voice betrayed his doubt. You are, she replied softly, her glowing eyes shimmering. Your heart wants me, but your mind fears me, and I don't understand why. Daniel felt his throat tighten, his hands shaking under her touch. He wanted to answer, but the words refused to come. Then, slowly, she guided his hand and placed it gently against her chest. Daniel's breath caught in his throat, her skin glowed brighter beneath his palm, and he could feel her heartbeat, fast and rhythmic, like a strange alien drum. It was unlike any human pulse he had felt before. It vibrated, as if her whole body was alive with energy. Lyra's voice trembled. Do you feel it, Daniel? My heart, it beats because I trust you. Fear crashed over him, but so did wonder. His hand lingered on her chest, and he realized how fragile she truly was. She was trusting him with everything, giving him a part of herself no one else had seen. His voice came out rough, almost broken. Lyra, I don't want to hurt you. I don't know if I can handle this. Her glowing eyes softened, and she whispered, then don't hurt me, just hold me, just don't let go. Her plea shattered his defenses. Slowly, carefully, Daniel wrapped his arms around her, pulling her against his chest. Her small body fit into his arms as though she belonged there. She trembled at first, but then relaxed, her glowing patterns shifting into calm golden light. For a long moment, they stayed like that, the sound of her strange heartbeat mixing with the steady rhythm of his. Daniel closed his eyes, realizing that all his fear was not about her, it was about himself, about what he would become if he gave in. Because with every second he held her, he felt less like a man living with an alien roommate, and more like someone standing on the edge of something greater. Then, Lyra whispered softly against his chest, "Daniel, I don't want you to see me as strange, I don't want to be your fear, I want to be your choice." Her words sent fire through him, and he tightened his embrace. "You are not strange," he whispered back, his voice shaking, "you are everything." The moment was fragile, but powerful. It was not passion alone, it was trust, the first step into a world neither of them understood. But in the silence that followed, Daniel's fear returned. What if others found out? What if her people discovered what they had begun? The thought twisted his chest, but when he looked at her glowing eyes, he knew one truth: no matter how much he feared the unknown, he could not turn away from her now. Her touch had already changed him, her trust had already claimed him, and deep down, Daniel understood the danger clearly. This was only the beginning. The night after Daniel held Lyra for the first time felt different. He could not forget the warmth of her body, the trembling of her heartbeat against his chest. It haunted him, it tempted him, and it terrified him, because he knew the truth. There was no turning back now. Something between them had already changed. Lyra moved differently too. She smiled more, she lingered longer when she passed by him, and sometimes, her glowing eyes followed him with a look he could not explain. It was not just curiosity anymore, it was hunger, a longing he felt deep inside himself as well. One evening, the silence between them broke again. Daniel was sitting on the couch when Lyra slowly walked forward. She stopped in front of him, her glowing patterns faint blue at first, then shifting into gold. Her hands trembled as she reached for the edge of her strange alien robe. "Daniel," she whispered, "I want to show you something. Something only you can see." Daniel's chest tightened, his breath caught in his throat. He wanted to tell her no, to stop, but his voice refused to come. Slowly, carefully, Lyra pulled the fabric aside, revealing the delicate lines that ran across her skin. Her body glowed faintly, veins shining like silver rivers under the surface. Her chest rose and fell quickly, as if she feared rejection. Daniel's eyes widened, not with lust alone but with wonder. Her body was unlike anything he had imagined. Strange, alien, yet breathtaking. Every line of light pulsed with life, glowing brighter with every beat of her heart. It was as if she carried a galaxy inside her skin. Lyra whispered, her voice trembling, "This is me, Daniel. This is who I am, and I want you to know all of me." Daniel reached out a shaking hand. He hesitated, his fingers hovering just above her glowing skin. Fear whispered in his mind. What if his touch harmed her? What if she burned beneath his hand? But Lyra leaned closer, whispering, "Please, don't be afraid of me." Her trust broke his hesitation, and his hand gently touched her arm. The warmth shocked him. Her skin was soft yet alive, like touching fire wrapped in silk. Light spread beneath his touch, glowing brighter where his hand rested. Lyra gasped softly, but she did not pull away. Instead, her eyes closed, and she whispered, "You see, Daniel, my body responds to your touch. It chooses you." Daniel felt his heart pound. He traced the glowing veins across her arm, following them like starlight. Each touch sent ripples of light racing across her body. Her patterns danced like music, glowing brighter with every second. It was beautiful, but also terrifying. "Lyra," he whispered, his voice breaking, "what if this hurts you?" Her eyes opened, shimmering with golden truth. "It doesn't hurt, it feels like life itself. It feels like I finally belong," she said softly. Her words struck him deeper than any touch, because he knew then, she had never shown herself like this to anyone else. Daniel's hand lingered on her shoulder, her small frame trembled, but her eyes never left his. "You're not afraid," she whispered in awe. "You don't see me as strange." He shook his head, his voice low but firm. "You are not strange, Lyra, you are beautiful." Tears glimmered in her glowing eyes. For her people, to be called beautiful by a human was unthinkable, forbidden, and yet here she was, showing her secret body to him, trusting him more than anyone alive. Daniel realized the danger in this moment. If anyone found out, she could be punished, exiled, maybe worse, but still, he could not pull away. Her glow had already wrapped around his soul, her trembling trust had already chained itself to his heart, and as he looked at her radiant skin, he knew one truth: the unknown no longer frightened him, because her body, her soul, had already chosen him. Daniel lay awake long after Lyra revealed her glowing body. The sight of her still burned in his mind, her silver veins shining like rivers of light. He had touched her, felt her warmth, felt her trust, and it had shaken him to the core. No one had ever given him something so raw, so pure, and yet, he was terrified. He turned in his bed, staring into the dark ceiling. Her words echoed again, "It doesn't hurt, it feels like life itself." She had spoken with such honesty, such courage, but was he ready to give her what she wanted? What if he failed her? What if she regretted it forever? Morning came, but Daniel found no peace. At breakfast, Lyra sat quietly across the table, her eyes lowered. She ate little, her patterns dim, as if she feared he would turn away from her. Daniel hated the silence, hated the heavy air between them. Finally, he placed his cup down and spoke. "Lyra," his voice was low, but steady, "I need to ask you one more time, are you sure about this?" She looked up, her glowing eyes wide, her patterns flashing faint gold. "Yes, Daniel, I've never been more sure," she whispered. "Why, he presa. D. Why me? Why not someone of your own kind?" Her lips trembled as she answered, "Because you are not like them, you don't treat me like a tool, or a thing, you see me as me." Daniel's heart pounded. He wanted to argue, to tell her she deserved someone better, but her words cut through all his doubts. She had chosen him not out of desperation, but out of trust, and he realized that if he turned away now, he would not just break her heart, he would betray that trust. That night, they sat together in the dim glow of the apartment. Neither spoke at first, the silence carrying more meaning than words. Finally, Daniel took a deep breath, his hands shaking slightly. "Lyra," he whispered, "I've made my decision." Her glowing eyes widened, her patterns flickered nervously across her skin. "I will not run from you anymore," he said softly, "but I promise, if we do this, I will be gentle, I will protect you, no matter what happens." Lyra gasped, her glowing eyes shimmering with sudden tears. She covered her mouth with her hand, her whole body trembling. "Daniel," she whispered, you mean it?" He nodded, his chest heavy but certain. "Yes, I mean it." She moved closer, her trembling hand reaching for his. Their fingers touched, and a pulse of light spread across her skin, glowing golden in the dim light. Her tears fell, but her smile broke through. "You don't know how long I've wanted to hear that," she said softly. Daniel pulled her gently into his arms, holding her against his chest. In his embrace, she whispered words that pierced him deeper than anything before. "You are my choice, Daniel, you are my human." His throat tightened, his heart racing. He held her tighter, realizing that whatever came next, he could never go back. His decision had already bound him to her in ways he could not explain. The fear did not vanish, but it changed. It no longer felt like a chain holding him down, it felt like fire, dangerous yet alive, pushing him forward. Because with every breath, with every heartbeat, he knew one truth: he wanted her too, not just as a roommate, but as something more. That night, as they sat together in silence, Daniel closed his eyes. He understood the weight of his choice. It was not just about breeding, not just about desire, it was about trust, about stepping into the unknown together. And in that moment, he whispered to himself a vow he would never break: "I will not let her regret this, I will not let her fall alone, I will stand with her, always." The night was quiet, the alien city outside their window humming faintly with distant sounds. Inside the apartment, Daniel and Lyra sat together in the soft glow of a single lamp. The air was heavy, charged with tension neither of them could hide. Daniel's decision had already been made, but now the moment was here, and fear returned to his chest. Lyra sat close, her glowing eyes fixed on him, her patterns flickering nervously across her skin. "Daniel," she whispered, her voice trembling, "I am ready." He looked at her, his throat dry, his hands shaking slightly. "No," he whispered back, "we are both ready." For a long moment, neither moved, the silence louder than any words. Then, slowly, Daniel reached out, his hand brushing against hers. Her skin glowed instantly, golden light spreading from his touch like ripples of water. Lyra gasped softly but did not pull away. Instead, she leaned closer, placing her small hand against his chest. She could feel his heart racing, pounding hard as if it wanted to break free. Her lips trembled into a small smile. "You are afraid, but you still stay." Daniel's voice was low, rough. "Yes, because I want this too." Their faces drew closer, her glowing eyes filling his vision. When their lips finally met, it was clumsy, uncertain. She gasped at the strange feeling, her patterns flashing wild colors across her body. Daniel pulled back quickly, worried. "Did I hurt you?" Lyra shook her head fast, her glowing eyes wide. No, it felt strange, but not bad. I want to try again, she whispered, her honesty eased his fear, and he kissed her again, slower this time, softer. Her hands trembled on his shoulders, and her body leaned against his chest. The glow from her skin spread brighter, wrapping the room in faint light. Daniel's heart pounded, not just with desire but with awe. Every touch of her skin responded to him, glowing brighter, trembling with life. It felt as though she was made of starlight and trust. She whispered against his lips, "This is what I wanted, to feel you, to know you." Her voice was soft, but it struck deeper than anything he had ever heard. Slowly, they moved closer, their breaths uneven, their hearts colliding. Lyra's glowing body pressed against him, every line of light responding to his touch. She laughed nervously when his hand brushed against her side. "I don't know what to do," she admitted, blushing blue. Daniel smiled gently, whispering back, "Neither do I, but we'll learn together." That honesty broke the tension. The clumsy laughter turned into something warmer, more certain. They touched, kissed, explored slowly, carefully. It was not perfect. It was awkward and filled with hesitation, but beneath it all, there was something stronger, trust. As they continued, Lyra's body reacted in ways neither of them expected. Her skin glowed brighter, her heartbeat quickened, strange patterns lit up across her chest and arms, moving like waves of light. Daniel pulled back in shock. "Lyra, your body, it's changing." She looked down, her eyes widening in fear. The glow spread faster, brighter, pulsing with each beat of her heart. I don't know what this means," she whispered in panic. Her whole frame trembled, afraid that something was wrong. Daniel wrapped his arms around her tightly, holding her against his chest. "Don't be afraid, I'm here, I won't let anything happen to you," he whispered firmly. Her body calmed slowly in his embrace. The glow steadied, her patterns shifting back to golden light. Tears rolled down her cheeks as she buried her face in his chest. "I thought I was breaking," she whispered shakily. Daniel stroked her hair, whispering back, "No, Lyra, you're not breaking, you're just becoming." The attempt was far from perfect, but it was real. They had crossed the line together, clumsy and afraid, but also honest and alive. And as Lyra clung to him, her glow steady in his arms, Daniel realized one truth: it was not desire that bound them now, it was trust. Their first attempt had not ended in fear, but in something deeper. The night of their first attempt left Daniel restless even after Lyra had fallen asleep in his arms, her glowing skin pressed against his chest. He could not close his eyes. The memory of her trembling body, the way her light had flared uncontrollably, haunted him. He had held her tightly, whispering comfort, but deep inside he feared something had gone wrong. Was her body rejecting him, or had they awakened something dangerous? When morning came, Daniel stirred and found Lyra already awake. She sat near the window, the sunlight touching her glowing skin, but instead of calm golden light, her patterns flickered with strange colors. Some parts glowed brighter, others pulsed like lightning beneath her skin. She held her knees close, her eyes wide with unease. "Lyra," Daniel whispered gently, moving closer, "what's happening to you?" She looked at him with trembling lips, her voice so soft but filled with fear. "My body feels different, Daniel. It is like every part of me is alive. I can't control the light. I've never felt this before." Her glowing eyes shimmered with unshed tears. "Did I do something wrong?" Daniel knelt beside her, his hands carefully resting on her shoulders. "No, Lyra, you didn't do anything wrong," he said firmly, though his voice shook. She shook her head quickly, pressing her glowing hands against her chest. "It feels too strong, Daniel, like I'm changing inside, like something is unlocking." The light on her skin pulsed faster as though her fear made it grow. He pulled her into his arms, holding her trembling frame. Her glow spread across his skin, warm but almost burning. Yet Daniel did not let go. "You're not alone. Whatever this is, I'm here. I won't leave you." His words steadied her, and slowly her glow dimmed, her breath slowed, her body relaxing in his hold. After a long silence, Lyra finally spoke again. "My people always warned us about humans," she whispered, her patterns glowing faint blue. "They said our bodies are not meant to mix, that if we try, we might lose control." Her voice cracked. "Maybe they were right. Maybe I should not have asked you." Daniel held her tighter, shaking his head. "Don't say that, Lyra. Last night wasn't a mistake." She looked up at him, her glowing eyes filled with doubt. then what is happening to me, Daniel? Why does my body feel like it's no longer mine? Her question pierced him, because he had no answer. He wanted to promise everything would be fine, but the truth was he didn't know. Still, he knew one thing for certain. He would never abandon her. He gently cupped her glowing cheek, his thumb brushing away her tears. Maybe your body is reacting because it trusts me, he whispered softly. Maybe this is not danger, maybe it's your way of bonding with me. Her lips parted. Her breath shaky. Bonding? Daniel nodded. Yes, something deeper than your people ever explained, something they feared because they never understood. Her trembling eased, her glow softening again, the light across her skin calmed, no longer wild but steady. For the first time since dawn, she smiled faintly, a small fragile smile. You really believe that, Daniel? She asked softly. He met her gaze with steady eyes. I do, and I'll believe it until the end. The room grew quiet, but the silence was no longer heavy with fear, it was filled with something new. Hope. Lyra leaned into his embrace, her glowing patterns golden once more. Her heartbeat thrummed fast but steady, no longer panicked, and Daniel realized that her strange reaction had not broken her, it had brought them closer. As the light from her skin faded to a soft glow, she whispered words that melted his chest. Daniel, I don't want to be afraid anymore, I want to belong to you. He tightened his arms around her, whispering back, then belong, Lyra, because I'm not letting you go. And though neither of them understood what her body had awakened, they both knew one truth in that moment. The bond they had begun was no longer curiosity or accident, it was real, it was alive, and it was only growing stronger. The apartment was quiet after Lyra's strange reaction. She rested in Daniel's arms, her glow finally steady, her breathing soft, but Daniel knew her mind was far from calm. Her silence carried weight, as if she held back something deeper than fear. He stroked her hair gently, waiting, giving her time. At last, Lyra lifted her head, her glowing eyes shimmering with emotion. Daniel, she whispered, there's something I must tell you. He looked at her carefully, sensing the storm behind her trembling voice. Her hands clutched his shirt tightly, as if she feared he might disappear, and then she spoke, her words spilling like a wound that had been hidden too long. All this time, you thought I asked because of curiosity, because I wanted to study humans. She began, her glowing patterns shifted faint blue, the color of sorrow, but the truth is, I was lonely, I was empty inside, my people treated me like I didn't matter. Her voice cracked, they never saw me as strong, they saw me as small, weak, unworthy of bonding with anyone. Daniel's chest tightened as her words sank in. He had known she carried pain, but never imagined it was this deep. Lyra's voice shook harder, tears falling from her glowing eyes. I didn't want just desire, Daniel, I wanted connection. I wanted proof that I was more than their lies. I wanted to feel human love. Because I thought, maybe only a human could see me. Her confession tore through him. He realized then that her request had never been about pleasure alone, it was about survival of her spirit, about proving she was not worthless. Daniel cupped her face gently, his thumbs wiping her tears. Lyra, he whispered, you are not worthless, you never were. But she shook her head, pressing her forehead against his chest. You don't understand, Daniel. In my culture, those who cannot bond with their kind are called hollow. I was one of them. They said no one would ever want me, that I was broken. When I met you, I thought maybe you would see me differently, and when you did, when you treated me kindly, I knew I wanted to risk everything with you. Daniel's heart pounded with anger and sorrow. He hated the thought of her people mocking her, stripping away her worth, and he hated himself for hesitating, for making her believe he might reject her too. He lifted her chin gently, forcing her to meet his eyes. Lyra, listen to me, you are not hollow, you are not broken, you are the bravest soul I have ever met, and if they can't see that, then they are blind. Her glowing eyes widened, her patterns flickering gold, the color of truth. Do you really believe that? She whispered, trembling. He nodded firmly, his voice strong. I believe it with everything in me. You are not my mistake, Lyra, you are my choice. Her tears turned into soft laughter, the sound fragile but filled with relief. She threw her arms around him, pressing her glowing body close. I was so afraid you would leave me, she confessed. Daniel held her tighter, whispering into her hair, you could never push me away, not after everything we've shared. The room seemed smaller now, warmer, filled not with fear but with belonging. Her confession had revealed the truth. And instead of breaking them, it had bound them closer, for the first time. Lyra did not glow with panic or sorrow, she glowed with peace, steady and golden, like sunlight on her skin. As they sat together, their hearts beating in rhythm, Daniel whispered a vow. I don't care what your people say, Lyra, you are mine, and I will never let them take you from me. Her eyes widened, her lips trembling into a smile. And you are mine, Daniel, she whispered back, always. And in that moment, their bond stopped being a question, it became a truth neither of them could deny, a truth. Stronger than fear, stronger than culture, stronger than the unknown. For a few days, Daniel and Lyra lived in fragile peace. They shared meals, laughter, and secret touches that made their hearts race. Their bond was new, fragile, but beautiful. Yet in the back of Daniel's mind, a shadow grew. He knew the city outside their walls was not blind, and sooner or later, someone would notice. The first sign came when their neighbor, an alien merchant, stopped by. He stared too long at Lyra, then at Daniel. His glowing eyes narrowing. You spend much time with your human, the neighbor said coldly. Lyra's patterns flickered blue with unease, but she forced a smile. He is my friend, the neighbor smirked. Be careful, friendships with humans can bring shame. After he left, Daniel turned to Lyra, worry etched on his face. They're starting to notice, he whispered. Lyra low read her gaze, her patterns dimming. They will notice more soon, Daniel, my body is changing, and they will see it. Daniel felt a chill, knowing she was right. Later that week, whispers followed them in the market. Other aliens stared at the glow on Lyra's skin, brighter than before. Daniel overheard cruel words. She lets a human touch her, hollow no more. But at what cost? Each word struck him like a blade. But when he looked at Lyra, she held her head high, though her trembling hands betrayed her fear. That night, she sat by the window, staring out at the alien towers. Her voice was low, heavy with sorrow. They will not forgive me, Daniel. Bonding with a human is forbidden. They may take me away. Daniel walked to her, placing his hands on her shoulders. They'll have to take you from my dead hands, he said fiercely. She turned, her glowing eyes wide. You would fight them? Yes, Daniel said without hesitation. Because you're not just my roommate anymore, you're my everything. Her lips trembled into a fragile smile, tears glowing on her cheeks. You don't understand how dangerous this is, she whispered. If the elders hear of this, they will punish us both, maybe even kill you. But Daniel only pulled her into his arms. Then let them try, because I will not let them take you. The very next day, the consequence came. 2 alien guards appeared at their door, their armor shining with sharp blue light. Lyra, one barked, you are summoned before the council. Her body stiffened, her glow dimming to pale white, the color of dread. Daniel stepped forward, his fists clenched. Why, what has she done? The guard's glowing eyes narrowed. It has been reported that she bonded with a human, a violation of our law. Lyra gasped, her trembling hands clutching Daniel's arm. Daniel's chest burned with rage. You have no right to judge her for who she chooses. But the guards ignored him, their cold voices ringing out. The council will decide her fate. As they dragged her toward the door, Lyra turned back, her glowing eyes wide with fear. Daniel, she cried, don't let them take me. His heart broke. But fire replaced his fear. He shouted after them, his voice echoing down the hall. You can take her body, but her heart is mine, and I will fight every one of you to bring her back. The guards sneered, but Lyra's tears carried her trust into his soul. She believed he would not abandon her, no matter the cost. And as Daniel watched her vanish into the night, he made a vow stronger than steel. He would face their laws, their council, their entire world if needed, because the consequence of loving her was not fear, but the fire to protect her. The council chamber was vast, its walls glowing with cold alien light. Rows of tall figures sat on high seats, their glowing eyes fixed on Lyra. She stood in the center, her small frame trembling, her skin glowing faint blue, the color of fear. Around her, the crowd whispered, their voices filled with scorn. She bonded with a human, shameful, unforgivable. Daniel stood at the edge of the chamber, held back by 2 guards, his fists clenched, his chest burning with fury. He could not watch quietly while they judged her for choosing him. Every instinct screamed to fight, to tear through anyone who threatened her, but he forced himself to wait, to hear what they would say. The eldest among them rose, his voice cold and sharp. Lyra of the hollow kind, you have broken sacred law, you allowed a human to touch you, to bond with you, Your disgrace cannot be ignored. Lyra lowered her head, her glowing eyes filled with tears. Daniel's rage boiled over, he pushed past the guards, stepping into the circle. You call her hollow, you call her shameful, but she is more alive than any of you, he shouted. The chamber gasped, their glowing eyes flashing in outrage, but Daniel did not stop, his voice rose louder. You fear humans because you don't understand us, you think love is weakness, but it's the strongest bond that exists. Lyra chose me, and I chose her. Nothing you say will change that, the council murmured angrily, some demanding silence, others whispering about punishment, but Lyra's glowing eyes widened, hope shining through her tears. She reached her hand toward him, trembling. Daniel, she whispered. The elder's voice boomed, you dare defy our law, human, do you wish death? Daniel stepped closer, his chest rising with fire. I don't care about your law. I don't care about your threats. If death is the price of standing by her, then so be it, because I would rather die than see her suffer alone. A heavy silence fell over the chamber, even the harsh whispers stopped. Lyra's glow shifted, her patterns turning gold, the color of truth. She stepped forward, her voice trembling but clear. Do you see, elders, he does not seek to own me, he does not use me, he stands with me, even when the whole world stands against him. Her body glowed brighter, brighter than anyone in the chamber had ever seen. The golden light spread across the floor, filling every corner. Gasps erupted, voices shouting, the bonding glow. It cannot be. The elder stumbled back, his eyes wide. This bond, it is real, it is alive. Daniel looked around, confused, but Lyra's tears sparkled as she turned to him. Daniel, she whispered, our hearts have linked. This light is proof. It means I am no longer hollow, no longer unworthy, because you chose me. Daniel pulled her into his arms, holding her tight as the golden glow wrapped them both. He whispered against her hair, and I will keep choosing you, every day, always. The council could no longer speak, silenced by the living proof before them. For centuries, they had called humans dangerous, unworthy, but here, in their own chamber, an alien girl and a human had created a bond stronger than fear, a bond beyond species. When they finally stepped out of the chamber, hand in hand, the city whispered, some in anger, some in awe, some in quiet hope, but Daniel and Lyra no longer cared. Their bond was no longer a question, no longer a secret, it was truth, shining brighter than law, brighter than doubt. As they walked into the night, Lyra leaned against him, whispering softly, you were my choice, Daniel, but now, you are my forever. And Daniel smiled, holding her close. Then let the galaxy watch, because nothing will break us now.